Good afternoon, everyone. Siguro we'll wait for a few minutes na lang muna before we start. Okay lang po ba? We start mga 2:05.
So, art.
Siguro for those who are, while we're waiting for the other participants, may we ask for everyone to rename themselves based on which breakout room they're interested in going into for the breakout later. So you can choose either one, environment, or two, sustainable consumptions. Tapos kindly indicate like your preference at the start of your name. So for example, one, environment underscore your name, so that we can classify you into your respective breakout rooms later.
Michelle, have you gotten my email?
Let me check this.
Okay.
Okay.
Dito mas sa consumption, dito mas environment. Noon saan man og greening.
Sorry.
Asa naman itong participants nila?
Siguro po we can start na with the session, but before that, may we ask muna for everyone to host their mics first while we move on to the opening prayer to be led by Sir Jim Acevedo.
Salamat, Michelle. Nais kong naririnig naman ako, Michelle, ano? Tinitiyak
Opo,
ko lang.
rinig po.
Okay, salamat po. Nais kong anyayahan ngayon ang bawat isa na maglaan ng ilang sandali ng pananahimik. Magbigay tayo ng puwang para pakinggan ang ating mas malalim na panloob at damhin ang banal na presensya ng ating Poong May Kapal. Diyos na makapangyarihan, banal at mapagkalingang Ama at Ina ng buong sanlinika, pinupuri namin ang inyong pangalan. Kami ay bumabaling ngayon sa inyo upang hilingin muli ang inyong pagbasbas at paggabay sa aming pagtitipon ngayong hapon. Patuloy kaming sumasamo sa inyo, Panginoon, alang-alang sa aming bayan, alang-alang sa bawat isang nagpapasan ng hirap, alang-alang sa bawat isang nababawian ng buhay. Sa inyong kagandahang loob, pagpalain po ninyo ang aming layunin ngayong hapon, layunin na isulong ang mga talakayan sa komunidad o community dialogue, para mapag-usapan, mapalalim ang kamalayan, at matukoy ang mga nararapat na tugon sa isang krisis na katuwang ng krisis ng pandemya, ang malungkot na krisis ng gutom, ng malnutrisyon, ng kawalan ng seguridad sa pagkain ng aming mga kababayan. Kaakibat pati ang pagkasira ng yaman ng kalikasang pamana ninyo sa amin. Gawin ninyo kaming tapat, Panginoon, sa aming mga tungkulin para sa komunidad. Nang sa gayon, kami ay maging instrumento ng inyong kaligtasan ng inyong paghilom, ng inyong pagkaloob ng panibagong buhay sa amin. Lahat ng ito ay hiling namin sa lakas ng inyong espiritong makapangyarihan, espiritu ng pag-ibig, na bukal ng pag-asa, ng sigla, ng kaganapan para sa aming mga buhay. Amen.
Maraming salamat po, Sir Jim, para po sa malalim na dasal na iyon. Sunod po na magsasalita ay si Sir Roel Ravanera ng Xavier University para po ibahagi sa atin yung nangyari po yung Food Summit na naganap noong April. Yan po. So, Sir Roel, please feel free po to unmute yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Michelle. Good day, everyone. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Maayong adlaw sa inyong tanan. I know many of you attended the Independent Dialogue for the UN Food Systems Summit 2021 organized by Ateneo de Manila University, Xavier University, and the Sustainable Development Solutions Network held 2 weeks ago. So, welcome back. As you may remember, there were a number of questions raised in the dialogue, but many were not discussed in the plenary due to time constraint. It was understandable as more than 230 participants from the academe, civil society organizations, government, and the private sector attended the dialogue. Given the importance of food security and nutrition in our country, and to provide venues for these questions to be clarified and elaborated on, community dialogues are being proposed and promoted with your participation. Of course, many would need guidance in moving this forward. Thus, this orientation on how to organize a community dialogue is being discussed. The outputs of the dialogues will be documented and consolidated to serve as inputs of local communities to the UN Food Systems Summit to be held at the UN General Assembly in New York in September 2021. Recently, however, there were suggestions also for us to submit these reports to the Philippine government as it is also conducting its own consultation. Some institutions are also planning to convene regional conferences in Asia where the ideas can also be shared. But more than just inputs to conferences and summits, we hope that these community dialogues will also lead to concrete follow-up actions at the local level to address the various issues to end hunger and malnutrition in our country. Hunger and malnutrition, as we have heard from our esteemed speakers in the first independent dialogue, is a complex problem. It is not only a problem of lack of food, it is also a problem of sustainable consumption. We need to ensure access to safe and nutritious food for all. Moreover, we should advance sustainable and equitable livelihoods while being mindful of the impact on our environment. So I am truly grateful for your presence here, as this initiative provides a good opportunity for each one of us to overcome this great challenge. Indeed, this is a global problem, and our input to the Food Summit is important but the actions needed are within our reach in our own communities. We all need to take on our share of responsibilities. In this manner, we can collectively make a contribution towards the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals in 2030. The steps we put in place today will ensure we reach the goals for a better tomorrow. It is our hope that from this orientation on how to run a community dialogue, you will organize one or more dialogues and share the results and your experience with us through the Documentors template. In this manner, we will be able to synthesize all the feedback on the issues. You can also join us on Facebook at Food Systems Community Dialogues. And we hope to receive more of these conversations that you will document. Daghan kaayong salamat, maayong hapon sa inyong tanan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Roel, for that quick recap of the Food System Summit that happened last month. So before po we do the breakout session, siguro we have Dr. Randy Tuanyo who will talk to us about the why, the what, and the how of this workshop today of the community dialogue. So Sir Randy, please feel free to unmute yourself and start.
Sige, thank you, Michelle. No? So good afternoon to all. So let me just check where my slides. Okay, so there. Yeah, so good afternoon to everyone. No? Thank you for joining this forum. No? And I've been tasked by the working group, including Ateneo de Manila, Xavier University, and SDSN Philippines, no? To give a short input on the why, what, and how of community dialogues. No? So I based this presentation on a document, no, on community dialogues, no, that the Philippine organizing team, no, specifically, no, Ed Valenzuelos here, no, has finalized, no, and also a document that is available on the website, no, by the UN Food System Summit. So we can have these materials available to you, no, after this meeting. No? So what I'll just do is to just go through some basic background on why these community dialogues are important, no? And maybe some ideas on how to organize it, no? According to the documents that have been already been provided. Okay, so as you know, some of you were in the dialogue that was organized last April 15, no? And both Dr. Shell Habito, no, and Dr. Roel Biones talk about the very high malnutrition rates in the country, no, as provided by data from the Food and Nutrition Research Institute. So 1 out of 3 children under 5 years old, no, is actually stunted, no, while 1 in 2, no, or half, no, of the lowest 1/5 of these children are stunted. No? So the rates of stunting, no, underweight, no, are very high in the country. So we know, no, in the past weeks, no, that community parties have been organized nationwide, no, to address this issue of food availability. And the urgency really of addressing these nutrition issues and ensuring food supply is not only one issue in the country, but many countries have faced this, no, especially, you know, during this COVID pandemic. No? So, and thus, this is why the United Nations is organizing a Food System Summit, no, this September 2021. So the aim really of the Food Summit, which we do apologize, no, for those who were in the forum last April, but we didn't really talk really much about, no, is actually to generate significant action and measurable progress towards the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. So as you know, no, one of the Sustainable Development Goals, no, Goal 2, is reduce extreme hunger. So the question is how can the world actually achieve this? No? and also to raise the issue and elevate public discussion on how we actually can reform our food systems. No? So even with increasing food availability, no, the irony is, no, we see also increase, no, in also malnutrition rates around the world. So how do we really organize, no, the food system? So here we refer to the food systems, no, as the activities, no, that is involved in the production, processing, transporting, and consuming goods. No. So I know that in this forum, no, I see familiar names, and in the Zoom, no, some of you, like Iris Bernardo, is the department chair, no, of the nutrition department of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. So I'm sure that you are involved in this issue, no, in trying to discuss this issue. And also here is also Dr. Martini Ventura, who's also one of the senior medical doctors, no? Also teaching at our School of Public Health. No? So he's also very concerned, no, with this issue of health. No? So how do we see now food, nutrition, and health? No? And well, of course, in the other systems associated with that, including agriculture, organized. No? So develop principles to guide governments and other stakeholders to leverage their food systems, no, in supporting the SDGs, no? And creating a system for follow-up. So in the past, no, the United Nations, especially in the 1960s, 70s, have a lot of summits, no, on the issue of food. No? And I think, no, in the recent years, that has been some interest, no, again, in organizing summits on how we organize food and agriculture. And we know that agriculture is becoming, again, no, very much important, especially among developing countries. No? And therefore, really, it's the issue is how can the UN governments around the world create organizing systems, no, that can actually ensure food availability. So the food system dialogue, no, we had the independent dialogue that was organized last April, no, and this is one form of participation, no, that will happen in the UN Food System Summit. No? And all of the inputs in the different dialogues will be provided, no, to the UN. This is not only the independent dialogues are not the only opportunity to be able to participate. So we know that the governments around the world, the National Economic and Development Authorities, thinking of organizing a member state summit dialogue, which will happen later this year, in maybe June, I believe, to discuss also the food systems in the country. There will be also be global summit dialogues that will align with major issues on climate, environment, health, economies, also around the world. And as we get information on this, we will disseminate this to you. And there will also be the reason why we organized the Independent Food Summit last April, Food System Summit, no, is to help spur individuals, no, and organizations, especially, you know, I think all of you know belong to different education institutions, to maybe organize discussions or dialogue within your institutions. And I think that's the objective also of the breakout sessions, to plan out these dialogues also to in your institutions, and how you can focus on this. Okay, I know that many of us really don't belong to, let's say, or are not to agricultural schools, no, or maybe health schools. But as you know, food systems or food security is important, and it involves, no, a lot of disciplines, no. It involves a lot of stakeholders, no. So here I showed you a slide, no, coming from Sir Ed Valenzuela's document, no, showing that when we talk about food systems and food security, that this means that all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to safe and nutritious food. So this does not only involve agriculture itself, no, which is important in trying to analyze the food availability, but also looking at the issue of economic development and growth. No? Demography is an issue, no? So the issue of how to address also population issues, infrastructure, so the disciplines of marketing, and also distribution are very much also important, no, in this concern. No? Also important is so that and this will determine actually access. Another also aspect is the determination of utilization, how food is actually utilized. So looking at consumption behaviors and nutrition, no, is very much important as well. And the stability of food systems is very much important. So climate change, no, natural disasters, and even conflict, no, are very much important in determining food availability. So it's not a so the food systems is not inclusive only to the discipline of agriculture. No, it involves every discipline, no, that we also belong. So whether you're in the field of medicine, no, economics, political science, no, especially looking at conflict, no, this food issue is very much important to you. And of course, no, hopefully this will lead to greater health outcomes and also poverty reduction. There are 4 tasks, no, of these independent dialogues. No? One, I think how this is actually structured and how we dialogue the April 15 discussion is that there are 5 tracks of discussion, and hopefully one way to organize this dialogue or discussion is to bring these 5 tracks together. No? So the first track is access to safe and nutritious food. So the second track is sustainable health patterns. The third track is nature-intensive production. The fourth track is livelihood and value distribution. We need employment, no, economic growth to ensure that there's food availability. And the last is to build resilience, vulnerability, and to shock and stresses. So one way to organize food dialogues is to organize them according to these topics. No? And that's why in this afternoon sessions, there will be discussions, no, in track 3, so sustainability, in track 1, also sustainability of food consumption, and also in the environment also as well. Hopefully, the second also task is to localize the global agenda to bring about greater awareness for community reflection. So maybe what's important is just to, there are some materials that are available and will be available for the discussion. So how do we bring this more down to the different institutions and communities that actually we belong to? The third objective is to facilitate interactive discussion on food security. So identify what are the root causes and drivers and existing symptoms. So what are still some of the remaining issues, why food availability is still a pressing issue in the country. And number 4 is to guide group reflection action sessions in the food system and value chain approach. So as you see in the illustration in the slide, so we talk of many, no, integral systems, no, in food availability. So from food production, distribution, processing, marketing, markets, preparation, consumption, and resource and water recovery. So it's not imperative that we discuss this whole supply chain together. No, maybe it's only possible that we can discuss only one part of that food chain, but it's important already to start a dialogue and see this issue as a systemic issue, no? So that all of these different parts need to work together. So what are the types of independent dialogues that you can organize? So that's maybe what we can asking to urge you to do. No? So one way to organize is through a webinar, a discussion on a specific track, no? Whether food availability or sustainable consumption. No? You may want to also organize a socially distanced forum, no? So that there can be more discussions with the community on the issue of food availability. Informal meetings also can be organized within the offices that where we belong to also discuss and urge maybe research since we are in the academia on this issue. But the key features are just to ensure that the principles of engagement, which I discussed earlier, the aims of what this aims to do is actually discussed during each of these activities. Hopefully the conversations are structured, so there are specific questions, no, that are targeted to the participants. And hopefully whatever outputs that you have will also be contributed to the official channels, which I will actually show you later. So some of the step-by-step process for the dialogues are one, maybe number first, if you're organizing a dialogue, please let us know. We will give you our we will give our Facebook link, or even emails, so that you're organizing it. Second is just to understand what these different issues are. The third, you may want to talk on the 5 facts that I discussed, or maybe one fact on your own. You can use the videos that we have from the April 15 webinar dialogue that we organized. Identify the participants that you want, then maybe plan your logistics, whether it's online or offline. Organize this process, convene the dialogue. And what's important really is to submit feedback. So once there is some outcome in your dialogue, please let us know what these feedback are so that we can send it to the official process, and maybe we can organize a separate process again for the Philippines. And then lastly, of course, to publicize this contribution to your own Facebook accounts or other social media sites. So as again, we had this webinar on April 16. So the materials will be made available for you if you don't have it. We have different speakers talking in different tracks, and you're very welcome to get the materials coming from there. Some additional organizing notes. So there's a guide. I don't know if you were able to distribute the guide during the April 16 workshop, but you feel free to use this. There will be also additional materials that are available. And if you want, there are also materials that were developed by the UN Food Summit organizers in New York. That's available to this web link. We have also a Facebook group which is already Joaquin has already posted in the chat, which you're feel free to contribute. And then lastly, we're planning to hold maybe continuous webinars just to keep individuals and groups interested in this issue. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Randy, for providing the context of today's workshop. So, yun nga po, as Sir Randy mentioned, the idea of today's session is to have sort of a simulation of how community dialogues can be conducted within your own organizations or within your own group. So that's why we asked you all to rename yourselves according to the interest group that you wanted to join. So we have 2 groups for today. The first one is the environment group to be facilitated by Ms. Gail. And the second one is on sustainable consumption to be facilitated by Sir Boy. So uh, anyone, can we ask everyone to rename their names to Zoom so that we can assign you to the significant groups, or if not, we can assign you ourselves na lang din. Yan. So we'll be heading to the now, to the breakout rooms for the individualized breakout sessions.
Siguro we can emphasize also, Michelle, now even if maybe you're not familiar with the 2 issues, we know that I mean there might be some link to these different issues that you might have. I mean, for example, some of you may be working on health. I'm sure that there's a connection between health and either environment or sustainable consumption. But just for this meeting, we will just have. I mean, we just thought of just having these 2 topics initially.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Okay. Are people able to move to their rooms?
Yes, I moved some of them already.
Thank you. Tita Of, I'll join room 2 na ha.
Sure. Nakaset for 30 minutes? Or tapos
Parang
extend na
hindi.
lang ba? 40? Ay, hindi.
Message na lang.
Sige.
Sa Viber.
Mag-broadcast na lang.
Sige, thank
Alright.
you.
Tsaka mag-broadcast na rin ako ng message. Set ko initially at 30 minutes.
Sige, thank you.
Send a message to Michelle so that.
Yeah, I sent the message
then-
to Miss Michelle na.
Hi po, everyone.
Yeah, okay, Michelle.
Open the slides now.
All right, yeah.
Are you able to see the slides?
Yes. But it's on center view.
Oh,
Oh,
hold on.
okay.
There.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir, you can ano na po, start.
Okay, start na. All right. It doesn't move. My slide doesn't move.
The arrows are in the bottom.
Okay. So, mayong hapon, welcome to our dialogue. Thank you for your being here and for your participation. Go ahead, Michelle. So first of all, I think let me introduce myself. I'm Boy Mercado Anselmo. I am a retired Xavier University College of Agriculture professor and used to be with the Southeast Asia Rural Social Leadership Institute. But now I'm retired, but I'm very much engaged in cooperatives. I am trying to do my best to introduce the ABCD approach in the cooperatives and other community development now. So that's briefly myself. I will be your facilitator, and we have only 40 minutes, I believe, for this dialogue. So let's be brief in introducing ourselves. So please introduce yourself briefly, each one. Thank you.
I can go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Just yeah.
I'm Martini Ventura. I'm with the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health, and I actually handle GI, the gastrointestinal module for one of the year levels, and of special interest to me is the nutrition and delivery in the country. Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome, Martini. Next, please. Anybody?
Let me follow Martini.
Okay.
My name is Tina Liamson. I work as a part-time faculty member at the Economics Department and at the Ateneo School of Government. Very much food security and nutrition advocate. Thank you.
Okay, welcome, Tina. Next, please.
Hi, everyone.
Yes.
My name is Nota Magno. I'm an anthropologist, so I'm teaching in Ateneo de Manila. I think my main pull in this event is that I love food. I don't want food to disappear, but at the same time, I also want to know what kind of food approach we need for the future, because we cannot stay the same. We cannot approach food in the same way. So I'm very, very curious and hopeful about this endeavor.
Again, how do they call you, please?
Nota.
Nota. Okay, very good. Salamat.
Yes, sir.
Welcome. Okay, next, please. Somebody else? Okay.
Sir Randy.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Abby, mauna ka na.
I'm
Go
Abby
ahead.
Victoria from Ateneo de Manila, sa Loyola Schools. I work with college students for their social formation under Office for Social Concern and Involvement.
Andy, no? Andy?
Abigail.
Happy. Okay, Abigail. Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Welcome.
See, I'll introduce myself next. I'm Randy Tuanyo. I'm with the Economics Department here at the Ateneo de Manila and also work at the Sustainable Development Solutions Network Philippines. Yeah, so let me just call na lang the next so that para hindi magkayan. So let me call also a colleague at the SDSNC Art Torneos with Lasal.
Sige.
Sorry, si Pau yata nagtaas. Pau?
Pau.
Na lang, Pau.
Sige.
Hello
Thank you.
po.
Sorry.
Hello po, sorry I can't open my camera. Mahina po yung internet signal. So ako po si Parampola. Same po with Miss Abby. I'm from the Office for Social Concern and Involvement, and I'm under the Punla or NSTP 11 team po.
Okay. Okay, welcome. Next. Right, you have already 6. Is there another one? Yes,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Cyril Apula from Foundation University Dumaguete. Got invited here by way of the Ashoka Youth Years Coalition. So I'm the partnerships manager. I'm helping facilitate the incorporation of the SDGs into our curriculum. Thank you.
Good to see you here, Cyril. All right, thank you. Next, please.
I'll follow Cyril. I'm Jobert Planikurikam, also from Foundation University. I work in the College of Agriculture Foundation.
Good. Welcome, Jobert. Next, please.
Hi, magandang hapon. Good afternoon, maayong hapon.
Maayong hapon.
I'm Ador Torneo. I'm from the De La Salle University Jesse M. Robredo Institute of Governance. We're not doing anything in particular related to sustainable consumption directly, but I'm part of the Zero Hunger Lab and the Hunger Action Group of De La Salle University. So I'm hoping to pick something up with our discussion this afternoon. Magandang hapon po.
Oh, very good. Welcome, Ador. Next.
I think I'm the last one po, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Michelle de Guzman. I currently work at the Office of the VP for Social Development.
Okay, Michelle, thank you. All right, let's go ahead. Okay, next slide. All right, the Food Systems Community Dialogue Workshops or breakout group is on food production actually and consumption. It's hard to break up food production and consumption. All right, the main theme of the Food System Dialogue, as explained by Mr. Randy earlier, is pathways to sustainable food, nutrition, consumption, and livelihoods. And pathways, let me start with this. Pathway connotes something positive. And when we say pathways, there are ways to move forward despite many challenges that have confronted our country and our people for decades, actually. And to the current times, the COVID pandemic that is in our midst now. So in a way, it's a light at the end of the dark tunnel, if I may say. It's a very positive thing for us to say pathways instead of problems, deficiencies that we have. So go ahead. Our discussion will focus on these pathways from production to consumption, from the farmers, primary producers to the consumers. Indeed, the whole food chain, production, processing, marketing, distribution, consumption. And there are pathways toward better food systems and to move towards food security for our people and country. So our discussion points, let's go to the three discussion points that I put down. What are the pathways to be able to deal with the challenges economically, socially, politically at the local and national levels? First point. The second point for discussion is, what do you think, or what do we think maybe the challenges along the way? And the third is, at the personal position involvement, what can you or we as a student, teacher, whatever we are doing now, we can contribute to see, to judge, and to act, and to be able to move forward along the pathways towards development and food security. So those are our three discussion points. If you would like to start with our discussion now, anybody can just express their views and whatever it is that you want to say. We have 40 minutes, so we'll have to be very brief and to the point with our points, with our comments.
Siguro, Sir Boy, we can stop sharing this. I'll post the questions na lang on the chat, pero we can see each other when we're discussing. Would that be okay?
Yes, yes.
I'll post the first question on the chat.
All right, the first question is, what are the pathways to be able to deal with the challenges economically, socially? So let's discuss this point. Anybody would like to start the ball rolling? Oh, very quiet man. One pathway to me, let me just start, is the cooperative. I'm very much engaged in cooperatives. That is a pathway as I see it. The cooperatives here in Mindanao is one of the strongest way to address the food problems that we have and to address the farmers' problems, and eventually also to reach out to the consumers. We have examples here in Mindanao, in Cagayan de Oro, where we have cooperatives doing this kind of work. The rice farmers are already putting their produce into a cooperative and processing them and marketing them. And the cooperatives in the various cities and towns are taking all these sacks of rice from that particular processing plant, and they are distributing them and selling them to the consumers in their own places. So that's one example. That's a pathway that we can address. The farmers are helped by putting their production into the processing plant. They get, they get better prices because of the marketing distribution system. So it helps both ways, farmers and consumers at the same time. So that's one example. Yes, go ahead.
Boy, pwedeng quickly lang.
Yes,
would you
please,
say that the community pantries would themselves be a pathway at this particular moment in our
Yes, very good.
With the
That's a
needs.
good point. Yes, yeah, because this is really, I'm very much encouraged, inspired by this community pantries. I don't know what the others think, but it's a show that the Filipinos are very generous people. They're kind. They're really trying to help out in whatever way they can. But I have some qualms about community pantries in a way. From a cooperative point of view, we say that a community pantry giveaway, dole out, if you do that, then there's no sustainability. It's a palliative, it's tentative. Although I realize that the resources are there, people are bringing in their goods and giving them away. But will it last? Will it last? How long will it last? So if you give man a fish today, you feed him for a day. But if you teach them how to fish, you feed them for life. And if they learn how to fish, you feed them for life. Well, that is just my point of view about community pantries. But there's no question community pantries are really making people become so generous and be concerned about other people, about others. But thanks for bringing this idea of community pantry, Tina.
Sir, there's someone in, Pauline wrote in the chat. The markets na walang middleman, farmer to buyer lang po ang usapan. I'd like to take up also something similar to that, like during the start of the pandemic, wherein the access to the farmers was bridged because of entrepreneurs who actually helped, no, and set them up to have an online delivery. I participated in that one. I mean, as a consumer, no, not as but because of the accessibility, no, or the fear also of our families to go out, and all the restrictions, we had to find ways to be able to reach the source. And I guess that's why also the delivery system boomed economically, no, in 2020, and well, even up to now. Thank you.
Yes, that middleman system has been with us for decades, and I'm not against middlemen in the sense that they're trying also to make a living for themselves. But that is one example of a deficient system that we have, where we look at the farmers and they get a very low price because the middlemen are trying to get their goods as low as they can, so they can make a good profit when they sell them to the consumers. So that is a system perhaps that we should try to look at. There must be a better pathway than a middleman system, So yeah, maybe others will have some ideas about that.
I just want to add on to what Pao did. I'm currently in Dinagat Islands, and they have this culture, since they don't have the market that we usually are accustomed to in the NCR or the groceries. Although they do have a few big sari stores here. They have a weekly tabo. Tabo means gathering, togetherness in Bisaya, and the tabo is like the farmers bring their goods in a particular street, and they sell directly to consumers, and it's something that they've been doing for several years now, and the provincial government right now has supported it by making their provincial the provincial capital, the tabo, a Thursday's tabo, because they chose Thursday because in other days of the week the municipal tabos are done. So what's interesting there is that the government supported the logistics, because during the consultation with the farmers, we can't bring our goods to the capital because it's very expensive. We don't have, so it's the government who provided the logistics, and the farmers collectively has earned 100,000, at least 100,000 a week. So collectively, and cooperatives, small farmers cooperatives participated, individual farmers participated, in even some small businesses, like if you have a garden, you can set up a small there's tables there. You just put down your talong or your ampalaya that you got from your garden, and you can sell it to whatever price that you or you want it to be sold. So it was since it's a very small community, so it's possible, but these can be also looked into as culturally, because it is something that they've been doing for several years, and probably look into in other communities, how the government, how small businesses can support these kinds of efforts, in whether it's logistics, production, selling, and promotion to consumers. That's it.
Yes, the meeting place, tabo in Bisaya, tabo, a meeting place, really a meeting place of farmers, of the producers for their products, and then the consumers will be out there to hopefully buy something at a more reasonable price. So it's a meeting place. Well, that's a one pathway, a tabo. It's also done here locally by our city and some of the barangays. It's being done also. Yeah, anybody?
Yes. I'd like to share something. It's not very big. It's on a micro level. But I'm partial to yung mga parang urban food systems, urban food gardening, yung recycling, and then using some of the food refuse for for fertilizing small urban food systems. So one of the things that I saw overseas, for example, when I was in Taiwan, it's a very small country, pero they don't have any space na unutilized, no? Even yung mga tabi ng mga riles, yung mga bahay, they have small plots where they provide they plant some food or vegetables. It's a small thing, but I think scaled up at a larger level, it can address especially hunger, at least reduce, no? Especially in urban areas where hunger and malnutrition are quite high. So medyo maraming maraming mga naging plantita during the pandemic and the lockdowns, but I am really partial towards urban gardens and micro farms that can actually provide food, kasi that addresses a very immediate need, especially hunger at this point in time. Sa dami nang nawalan ng trabaho, even some small vegetables can actually make a difference.
Yes, that's a good point. Gardening. So I think somewhere in Davao, they started faith, food always in the home. That's gardening, and in small scale. So that's a good pathway. Start small, and then hopefully we can learn from all of this and maybe create bigger cooperatives or something like that, where we can do production in the home, gather them together as a group, and then market them direct to the consumers. So maybe that's a good pathway too. Anybody else? And then Michelle, can you tell me the time? So there are two more questions. So anybody else would like to say something more on the first discussion point? What are the pathways? What are the possible pathways?
Affirm ko lang po, it looks like very exciting yung local pathways. I agree, yung community pantry, even though hindi siya kasi parang top level si co-op, because co-op lahat has a stake and you're fully invested in it and you're thinking about sustainability. Pero even at a small scale, si community pantry, at least it gets the sentiment there. Parang everyone is bonded together, meron kang idea of feeling of community. Tapos I also like the urban food system, very important kasi napaka-dense ng urban population and they're always threatened in many ways, housing, food, marami. Tapos napansin ko lang po in my experience with the lockdown, I had gotten used to getting my food at the mall kasi everything is there. Even non-food na I can get. So one-stop shop. Pero nung nangyari yung lockdown, ang nakabuhay sa akin was the sari-sari store nearby. Like I really survived with the sari-sari store. It's al fresco, so minimized yung viral load that you might get. And then they have even fresher produce kasi they get directly from the market. Tapos i-retail lang nila sa subdivision. So local pathways are really really nice. Maganda sana kung state-led. So kung tatlong parte yan, civil society, state, private sector, mahirap galawin si state-led kasi it's very bureaucratic. Never mind pa the corruption, no, but very bureaucratic. Private sector, I don't know where their heart is. Sana nasa taong bayan. Pero even the civil society, there's so much that we can get done. Sana lang ma-enroll yung state and private sector.
Siguro po final, ay sige Ma'am Tina.
No, I'm just excited dun sa sinabi ni Nota kasi dagdag lang. So tingin ko, maybe we haven't really maximized the use of let's say sari-sari stores to provide let's say healthy nutritious food na cook na. Pwede din yung uncooked, mga gulay-gulay, etc. Pero yung yung ready na pero nutritious. Kasi otherwise the sari-sari stores are the source of a lot of the junk food. Kasi consumption yung ating group, no? So let me just put that in. Thank you.
In connection with that po, siguro let me share lang din na parang we're also, like, our office is also working with some alumni who are also interested in contributing to the community pantries near Ateneo. And yung model nila for that is that they get their supplies from co-ops directly. So, tapos that they give those supplies, so yung parang nutritious vegetables, ganyan, yan yung mga dinodonate nila sa community pantry. So, I guess in a way, it helps with the whole, parang problem of whether or not it's sustainable, ganyan. So, I guess in a sense din, parang may contribution din yung private sector in that way, kahit na medyo small scale pa lang siya and parang patse-patse pa lang. Pero yun nga, it's starting. So medyo exciting din yan. So,
okay, yes. Go ahead.
Dagdag ko lang
so,
parang,
yeah,
Sir,
go ahead.
Sir Boy, correct. Parang to look also into the local policies kasi I remember in our barangay we are near the public market in Valenzuela City, and very supportive ang city with the formal market, formal businesses, and kapag nagkakaroon ng mga informal sellers, talagang they are being shooed away and ganyan. And usually the informal sellers or yung parang the small sari-sari stores that set up, let's say, mga goods, yung farm products, bigla silang pinapasara. Because of course, they want to promote yung private or yung mas malalaki na markets. So, I don't know with this current situation that the reality is the products are becoming more and more expensive, more and more inaccessible. I think the really serious conversation with local policymakers in how to talk about it kasi nagugulat ako na maraming mga pinasasara na small sellers of mga products na ganito, especially food.
Okay, very good. I think that the first point has been discussed quite well. You've raised quite good points there. Pathways, small, we start small. Many people start small anyway, and hopefully that can give them ideas to how to grow bigger and more effectively doing in a bigger way. All right, let's go to the next discussion point then. What are the challenges with regards to, we mentioned pathways, but what are the challenges now? Let's look at that. Don't look at it as problems, challenges. We must look at it in a positive way. Put the problems behind. Okay, we have ideas, pathways, but what are the challenges that we will face? I'll start the ball rolling here. In cooperatives, we do have a lot of challenges still. We do have millionaire cooperatives. But when it comes to agriculture, that's one of the weaknesses of cooperatives. there are very few agricultural cooperatives. We have a lot of finance cooperatives, loans, savings, and things like that. But when it comes to agriculture cooperatives, there are very few success stories. We're doing now something along the line of agriculture and trying to connect really producers and farmers with our rice processing plant. And we are now trying to do it with vegetables. And hopefully we can do it with coconuts, processing of coconuts. There's a move here by the provincial government, Agricultural Development Office, to put up a processing plant of coconuts. But there is also another idea, pathway, inclusive business. They say inclusive business. Again, to connect farmers groups, agricultural producers with direct to companies that are selling agricultural products. But the challenges are there still very much how to do it, how to make farmers really become more familiar with these kinds of moves. For them, it's still production, bad income, bad market, and things like that. That is one challenge that we will have for our pathways. Right. Anybody pick up something? What are the challenges? If you think that these pathways are there existing, but what are the challenges?
Siguro for me, another challenge is definitely the pandemic. Like for example, parang one of the major projects of our office din is a feeding program for public school students. But it's definitely difficult to implement that given nga na they're like the schools themselves are locked down. Mahirap din po yung parang even if you have this food that you want to distribute, parang mahirap din yung logistics of it kasi very dangerous nga po, tapos dumadami yung cases. So that's definitely a challenge. Even if parang there's the motivation to do something, mahirap din to do it in the context of the pandemic. So yun lang.
Why is it mahirap? Okay, they know that the pandemic is there. They have to do something. But why is it for them mahirap? What is the challenge for them? What is the main thing that makes them say mahirap?
Parang I think kasi it's weighing the risks. Like for example, parang usually the system was they deliver the food to, or they cook the food and then deliver it to the public schools, and then sa schools parang binibigay yung food packs, is food, yung cooked food isa-isa sa mga students para parang it's also a way for them to be encouraged to go to school. Pero yun nga po, since like distance learning na rin, tapos parang they're expected to learn from home, parang mahirap din to distribute to the houses themselves, ganyan. So I think what they did was to distribute na lang non-cooked food. So in a way, the feeding program still continued, but parang parang it was parang reoriented, or parang they had to rethink it pa. So para lang ma-implement pa tuloy, para ma-implement pa rin yung feeding program.
Okay, very good. Yeah, okay. Anybody else would like to share something?
Maybe I'll just add a little bit on the kasi consumption, no, sustainable consumption. But anyway, question for me, the challenge is how to get especially our kids to eat nutritious foods. Kasi we're, let's say those of us who appreciate vegetables, etc. I don't think many of our now are convinced, lalo na so much na mga binibigay ng mga free goods, mga puro mga noodles and junk food.
Definitely, that's a big challenge now, how to address that. more nutritious food than what they have now. They're used to the junk food.
Challenge din kasi mag-prepare ng ng snack na like an alternative snack kasi from scratch. From personal experience, mas madaling bumili ng chips. So it's very tempting. Ako ang nakita kong challenge yung sustaining kasi yung local level, it's very nice and promising pero napaka-sporadic niya kasi organic siya. It just happens with the way that people flow. So for example, itong sari-sari store, I'm thinking about it. Paano siya masusustain? Let's say, yung parents yung may-ari ng sari-sari store and then they earned enough para mapaaral yung mga anak nila in schools. Paglaki ng mga anak, ayaw na nila mag-sari-sari store. They're gonna, like if you consider yung life cycle ng family, ng mga local efforts, they could branch out into different efforts. So hindi masusustain yung what we think are ideal for the community. So para sa akin, that's a challenge kasi things happen, life happens. So hindi mo ma-predict si local. Not like, SM is a very predictable model. The government can make predictable models, pero ang civil society has a pulse of its own. So yun yung challenge for me. Very dynamic. You can't put your finger on it.
Good, yeah. Challenge of sustainability of anything that has happened and good, but how to sustain, that's a big challenge, definitely, yes.
Lalo po yung co-ops. Ang dami kong narinig na co-ops dito and then very short term.
Yeah.
They start with good intention and ganado sila lahat and then later on nagsisiutang and then nobody pays and then nag-shut down yung co-op.
That's right, yes.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, good. Anybody else would like to?
Boy, you're muted. Boy, we cannot hear you.
Well, yeah. What? Anybody else would like to say more about challenges? The pathways are there. Challenges also exist. The co-ops face that all the time. Sustainability. They start good, well, but eventually they fall down, or maybe the members don't support it anymore, or whatever it is. Sari-sari store that you mentioned. All right. So yeah, those are challenges really. Filipinos are like that in many ways. Ningas kugon, sabi nila. But that's a problem. I don't like to mention the problem. Ningas kugon is a problem, but the challenges, you should be faced with challenges and address them. Anybody else would like to say from Dumaguete? Do you have challenges there?
Yes, actually, the observation that I have is more based on the experiences we had at work. There are already pathways available, but it's more few and far between. There's no interconnectedness between these pathways. And what's happening is that people try to jump from one pathway to another before reaching to a specific goal. And I think that's where academia should play an important role. Putting things together, putting those pathways together so that we're able to maximize the availability of resources. Sometimes I think somebody mentioned earlier that resources, I think it's you, sir, that when you mentioned that some resources are just given via dole out, because some people who have those resources do not know what to do with them, so they just give it away. So I guess to sum it up, it's very important to create interconnected pathways instead of just focusing on one single pathway, because others might not be able to access these pathways even if they badly want to.
You mentioned how we should be able to address these challenges. Like you say, all right, we see things, we see these challenges, we see the pathways. How to be able to more scrutinize it, evaluate it, and bring it to the people in the academia, as you say.
Yes.
And these are case studies, no? And when we discuss actual case studies that are really happening, and then there's a realistic way to be able to evaluate all these pathways and the challenges. it's good that you mentioned that, because I suppose you're a student or you're a teacher or you're in the academia, and this dialogue is supposed to be, trying to reach out to the students in the academics and the teachers as well. So these are good points for discussion among them in the scholarly way, and also realistically that's happening in the field. Anybody else? All right. How much time do we have, Michelle, still? We have one more discussion point.
Lang po, sir. Last 5 minutes po.
Last 5 minutes, okay. So we better tackle the last discussion point, all right? But anyway, there are a lot of points already mentioned in the first two. All right, let's go to the third one. The third one is, can you put that up?
So, at the personal position or involvement, what can you or we,
Yes.
student,
Yeah.
ever contribute to judgment?
Yes, at a personal position, involvement, what can you or we as a student, a teacher, or whatever we are in a position, contribute to see, to judge, and to act, to be able to move forward along the pathways towards development and food security. After all, that's our goal, no? To be able to help in the achievement of food security. Hopefully that we will be able to move towards that. So, what can you, anybody say something about this at a personal level?
At the personal level, as a teacher, ang nakikita ko pong role ko, taga-sindi ng puwet. So Michelle was my former student. I don't know if I was effective, pero pang taga-pukaw ba ng emotions ng mga bata towards the right directions na urgent for society. As a consumer, I don't think babalik ako ng SM. I mean, babalik ako for Ace Hardware, ganun. Pero I think dito na ako sa sari-sari store. Tangkilikin yung like the nearby stores. That's what immediately I can do.
Yes, all right, very good. Anybody else would like to say something from your personal point of view? Yes.
I think I'd like to follow that up. I am also teaching idea generation classes here in Foundation University, and the foundation of the class is on SDGs. And one of the takeaways I have is students support initiatives when they understand the context of the problem. So it's very important for us teachers, even policymakers, to put the problem, to put the solution in context where they can chew it and understand how their individual decisions affect it without sort of blaming them that they're part of the problem. And the subject I'm teaching is around 2 semesters only pa. It's a new subject. However, we've seen results where students try to find solutions to problems in the community.
Very good, fine, very nice, very good. Anybody else?
Boy, I think kanina Pauline had her hand raised.
Pauline, will you please say
Hello?
Please? Yes, please, Pauline.
For me po siguro, same with Ma'am Notas as a student affairs professional and formator, yung ginagamit ko po usually sa processing sessions ko is yung pagiging taga-gising with the students, maging teach them na they can do something. And then siguro on the personal level po, ang observance ko ngayon, we can do so much for the community na ginagalawan din natin, and we can start from there. Ayun po. Thank you.
Yes, fine, very good. Pauline, anybody else would like to say about how you can contribute yourself to sustainable development, agriculture development, food consumption, better food consumption, things like that. Pathways. As for me, I'd like to just continue on my role as an educator in cooperatives, promoter. We're trying to do bigger things now, hopefully that we can address the agricultural production and consumption food chain. The food chain is a big challenge for us, but definitely we have seen that a cooperative is a pathway. And so we will try to continue to do more on this food chain system. And in a bigger way, hopefully that we will be able to even go to the government here and say, give us, let's say, a piece of land wherever that the government has to be able to set up this food terminal, and the cooperatives will run them, farmers and consumers at the same time. So it's a bigger way of doing things, but I think it's also becoming more effective really to address issues of food security, food production and consumption. So cooperatives is really definite. I will continue to be able to educate, promote it more. That's from my position.
For me, at least in our university, kasi as like Paula mentioned, Pao mentioned earlier, na we engage with students in their immersions and ganyan. But I think we also can create this activity when we do come back the normal setup wherein students come to the university. No, we engage students into activities, either design a module or create activities in the university wherein direct from farmers, direct from producers as a form of market which they can engage and buy, or at least whether it's produced or niluto na fresh ganyan, tapos something kasi mas mura ganyan. Try things out. Basically try things, new things out in which are done in the local or in other regional areas. And I think because we in the urban areas kasi we're so accustomed to fast food, to ganyan, to cafeteria food, so we can introduce new ways to appreciate food, to obtain food, to access food, so that they can appreciate more where food comes from. That's it.
All right. Anybody else like to say on this? What can you do? What can you contribute? Anybody else working in the rural areas with farmers or with LUMAD IPs, indigenous peoples? The indigenous peoples, they really need a lot of help out there.
Sir, I think we have like a little less than 1 minute po left until the room closes. We can bring the question into the bigger group later.
Okay. So, Michelle, so in 1 minute we will be closed na.
Opo.
Okay, and then we go back to the main room or wala na after this? We go back to the main room. All right. So then let's wind up. We have discussed the 3 discussion points, and there were many good points that you raised: pathways, challenges, and what we can contribute, each one of us personally. And we'd like to thank Michelle here for hopefully synthesizing your you'll be documenting, synthesizing the points that we raised here. Okay, anyway, yeah, we'll help each other on this. All right, I think salamat sa tanan. Thank you for your participation, and hopefully we'll see you again in future workshops like this. And now we go back, Michelle, we go back now to the main room. Salamat sa tanan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good.
Kind of like organize your own dialogue among Ateneo advocates or prospective advocates?
Yes, ma'am. Through the MOA I mentioned, no, kasi typically po pag may memorandum of agreement, it's the entire university is being engaged. So at least that's the start. In the department, everybody's on board, but we still need help from those coming from the different units, different backgrounds. Because definitely it's not just a natural sciences problem.
Yeah, right. Sige, so thank you, Kayo. I think everyone is here, so who will take on from this point? Off, ikaw ba yun?
Yeah, sure. It's okay. I'll start. No, there's the last part is really just maybe a share. We'll just combine the two. No, if you saw in the email that we sent, there's supposed to be a sharing or a reporting from each of the group, and then just a discussion also of what went well and things that we could improve on. So let's just combine the two. Maybe we could ask a representative from each of the breakout room to just share. Well, for one, how was the discussion? I know it was probably rich. It was and bitten in terms of the time that was allotted. No, but again, our goal is really to give you a taste of how the dialogues would be. And so right now, we just want to hear from you. Maybe one from Sustainable Consumption Group and the other one from Environment Group, just to tell us how it was and what. I guess if you could already add, what went well and things that could be improved. A while ago, before the other group came in, they're already talking about that maybe we shouldn't stop at just the issues, at identifying issues. No, so it's more than that. So maybe you can hear someone from Group 1 first, from Breakout Room 1.
Kami yun off, and I was tasked to do this, so very
coerced.
Very briefly, just some of the issues that were raised. One was the issue of pollution in the environment, then the issue of the carbon footprint, as well as food miles. No, we have to be aware and conscious of those. And then for packaging of material, it's not what it is, but also what we do with it. No, yung use, reuse, recycle is equally important. No? And then even the issue of air pollution was brought to our attention because plastic waste is very easy to get scattered, no? Especially pag nagbaha, nag-flooding, etc. So our water systems also get polluted. No? Going on to other issues raised was yung unregulated use of agrochemicals, especially pesticides, and the corresponding health risks to farmers and their families. And concomitant to that, there was also the issue of what we ingest, no, food, the actual what kind of food that we eat, because if we just look at calories but don't look at the nutritional value of those calories, it still causes us both physical and mental disease or illness, if you like. So it's important we address the root causes of illness by eating parang adequate or proper or nutritious food, maybe let's say nutritious and adequate food. No? Access to good quality food is an issue all around, and the problem of micronutrient deficiency, which is not seen, no? But it's very important. Lastly, the other issues that were also raised was like for small fishermen or for small farmers. Well, there were two. From Davao, the issue of mobility, no? Transportation.
Sir, you're muted po.
I hope I wasn't muted from the beginning. Food waste, yung farmers' mobility of their products, and then yung sa opportunities for small fishermen and small farmers also. No? How do you provide more education and change in behavior to improve livelihoods, no? for small fishers? So those are the range.
Sir, sorry na mute po ulit.
For the processes, I leave that to Gail. What can be improved, etc.
Yeah, but for this afternoon, thank you, Sir Ed, for being first. Salamat for reporting. Yes, but before that, maybe the group found the conversation as bitin, but at the same time enlightening. It was rich and it was timely, thought-provoking actually, and it was a good start. But it was also something. There was something that was raised that that context is very important here, because the problems that we are facing is really complex, and the important thing here is to really prioritize the issues with greater impact for much of the population. And then we do not stay in the identification of the problems or issues, but that we go to local solutions possibly. But then again, this is but a simulation for this afternoon without actually downgrading the quality of our sharing. But again, the time was very short, but it is also good because there is this hope and encouragement to really continue the conversations, to go deeper into the conversation and to surface out possible local solutions to identified problems. So I think that's it for group one. Unless I have missed out something and my group mates cannot sleep tonight until the end of the year, if they cannot say it now.
Yeah, meron ba? Although maybe later kung medyo na siya
okay.
Could call on. But thank you. Maybe a virtual clap for group one. Ang dami, despite the constraints, 45 minutes, ang dami din talaga na napag-usapan, parang from pollution to farmers' mobility. But yeah, someone from group 2, can we call on someone?
So I was assigned to talk about insights for group 2. So
Go ahead.
had time lang po to tackle 3 questions. So the first one is yung pathways to be able to deal with challenges economically, socially, politically at the local and national level. So one of the first things that we talked about were the community pantries and how it's becoming a big thing, and parang it provides a lot of hope, but at the same time parang someone asked about its sustainability and how parang sustainable it could really be, diba? Other pathways that were discussed were also like sari stores, the fact that they're very close to the different parang close to a lot of people, and that parang it can be accessed, and but like it's open air, so in the context of the pandemic it's really a good source of where you can get supplies or where you can get food, diba? Yun. But aside from that, the second question was the challenges naman that we're facing given nga give the challenges to food consumption. So one of the first things that were discussed na challenge was the local policies. Kasi sometimes parang policies don't support individuals who, for example, try to sell their produce pero parang informally nila binabenta yung produce nila. So nagiging hindrance yun even if they're the ones that need actual support from the government. Ganun. Another challenge was, of course, the pandemic and the fact na the pandemic gave constraints to logistical parang yung mobility din of the produce, or parang even if you want to, even if you're interested in doing something like an initiative for consumption for your community, mahirap siya kasi parang is it worth the risk, may mga ganyang considerations, ganyan. And another challenge then was the fact that there are a lot of different pathways that are available for people, but these pathways aren't necessarily connected. So yung challenge is, how do we connect all of these pathways so that they can work effectively together, diba? And the third question was like at a personal position or involvement, what can we do to contribute to be able to move forward along the pathways towards development and food security. And our group was mostly composed of people from the academe and teachers, professors. So a lot of them shared how parang their role was mainly to inspire or to encourage their students to think about these issues, and to encourage them then to think about how they can do something about the issue. Kasi once they're given the context as to why a problem is important, parang they'll be really encouraged to do something about it. So that's like one way that teachers can take part in this issue. Another initiative that was mentioned then is to support local efforts. So localized initiatives that like co-ops nga din and sari-sari stores. So yun, if anyone else from group 2 wants to add, please feel free to do so. If I missed on anything, yan. Sir Boy, baka po may...
Yes, very, very good, Michelle. You summed it up very well. Let me just add, many of the things that were mentioned in our group were, small things, small ways, small pathways that can lead to somewhere. And people are starting these small pathways. But these are small pathways, a good step in the right direction in a sense. But we have to move somewhere. But these are challenges. No, the challenges are there, like cooperatives. There are big cooperatives. They've done a wonderful ways, but still sustainability could be one thing. But one big thing that we have brought up here is the fact that agriculture production still very much wanting in the Philippines, and how to address this. The challenge is how to address the agricultural production, helping small farmers in a way that they can really market. And cooperatives is one of them, but there are many ways. Sari-sari store. The pandemic now is the community pantry, but this is just feeding a person for a day, but it may not be feeding them for life. So there must be a way, another pathway towards more sustainable kinds of pathways and bigger things from small things. So I think that's what I can add. Thank you. Salamat.
Thank you. That's so inspiring. The little things that we can actually do. No? Sorry, Ms. Gil, did you want to say something before I?
One last thing also. Yes. I forgot, and Sir Ed might, will not panumbaling me from today. From the between conversations, one of the things that that we wanted to do in moving forward is that we do the conversations in our natural social groups, so that it is something that there might be solutions that might come up, and it is easier to manage given that kind of conversations that will be conducted. So that's it. Okay ba yun, Sir Ed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sige, I'm sorry, it's 3:37, so I hope it's all right to just maybe allot a few more minutes, because maybe just to ask, baka you still have some thoughts on in terms of the process, in terms of the design, in terms of what went well, and maybe things for improvement and some recommendations, because these are parang really parang very, very productive discussion that you guys had in the span of 45 minutes. You're around 10 in a group. Hindi na namin sinama kami sa bilang, no? But roughly around 10 participants in a group, and it seems like, and that's around 45 minutes. And we were initially saying it's 1.5 hours, so I'm not sure if it's bitten, or maybe if we could just really limit the number of questions from the set of questions that we provided in the guide. No, what's been mentioned also is that it's a good start. Context is important. So at the start of the dialogues, that we hope that each and every one of us, or the communities that you belong to, the organizations that you belong to, will participate. The context is important, so we'll start there. No, when you facilitate the dialogues, and maybe also to just be more conscious that we don't stay on just the issues, but we also go to the solutions. But maybe you can hear from others, two more people, maybe just what went well, some recommendations for the group that we can also share when we blast again to our contacts who might be interested in facilitating the community dialogues.
Abby.
Yeah. Abby.
If we are to use the Zoom setup, and the facilitator can probably maximize yung something visual na parang we see yung mga na-discuss na para din nakikita ko marami, for example, Jamboards or if of course the capacity of the facilitator, depende sa capacity ng internet ng facilitator, and also the know-how of things. But if they do, probably we can recommend those things too.
Thank you, Abby. So just really making use of our technology, the different things, Jamboard, whiteboard, all the boards in the world, and the visuals that we can use. Any other recommendations? I know that you guys are all very seasoned facilitators. So yes, thank you. Thanks, Ms. Cyril. So in a way, would you say that you are comfortable already to start the discussions? As Dr. Tuanyo mentioned a while ago, you could do informal meetings such as this. So ito yung tinatawag na informal. So within our own circles, no? So like Abby, for example, from OSCE would help facilitate our discussions or dialogues in the office. Maybe within your own departments as faculty members. If are you comfortable already? Are you ready to facilitate the small group, the dialogues that we have? Or maybe you'd want to also come up with a forum that we can help out with. No? By we, meaning our experts in the room. Yan sila Sir Boy, Sir Edgar, Ma'am Tina, yan, Sir si VP Roel, yan. Baka pwedeng matap for their as speakers. I know sinangkalan sila, but yeah, maybe any form of help that we can provide. All right, mukhang
just comment. I noticed in our group mainly are mga academicians pa. So we're not reaching out much to the other groups, di ba? So I don't know why. I don't know why. So just yes. So I mean, marami mga mga academicians, teachers involved in schools. So Dumaguete, that's good. We have 2 from Dumaguete. So anyway.
Yes. Opo, and we'll continue to reach out to other groups. We sent out the email, but the academicians or the ones who actually replied to our invitation. And but of course, certainly we'll continue to invite more groups of people, even more students, maybe even, and other members of maybe the NGOs also. Sige, kung wala na, I think from what I gathered, at least from what was shared, so we'll also take some notes and send an email to those who would want to facilitate the discussions, maybe just to give some reminders, some pointers, the recommendations that Abby also said, reminders to that the context is important, that maybe also in terms of the questions, limiting it. But before I pass on the floor to Michelle, Miss Tina is raising her hand.
Can I just, thanks, Ophalie. I just wanted to mention the baka, even from this group, we could be interested to share this possibility with other contacts so that it will sort of cascade to many others who could potentially be interested. And if there would be interest, they could all join in the Facebook page so that they could be updated on what could be done, and maybe even the materials that could be used when they start doing the community dialogue. So kung may parang appeal lang na kung meron tayong makakilala ibang mga tao o grupo who could be potentially interested, this would be very welcome, no? So we need not limit it to our immediate circles. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. All right.
Okay, so with that, again, thank you everyone for being with us today and for joining our workshop. Sobrang meaningful din ng mga naging discussion. So very exciting din to have to see what dialogues will continue then within your own organizations. And yun nga, as Ma'am Tina mentioned, we have a Facebook group. It's sort of like a private group where we can share what we have then, what we've discussed with our own communities, and we can also upload the materials there, like the community guide, maybe Sir Randy's slides then from this afternoon, so that you parang may easy reference na rin if you need files for your dialogues. So yun, we hope that this is the start of more discussions to come, and we also hope to continue doing these kinds of workshops for different groups naman, as Sir Boy mentioned na this group is mainly composed of people from the academe, but we also hope to invite other people from different sectors then. So if you know anyone who's interested in food consumption, environment, and all of these different topics, please feel free to add them to the Facebook group, and then we can continue the discussions there. So if there are no more comments or insights, we'd like to conclude this afternoon session. Thank you again, everyone, for your attendance today.
Very good. Fine. Salamat kayo.
Thank you.
Mayong